Welcome, Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion. We continue in Terumah, the home for God we're building. By the way, as the Midrash says, that those who study the building of the home for God, it's like they built it. So we're studying it, which is great. It's like we're building it. Third base of the Mishkan, but we're building third base of Mikdash. All right. Let us get into the sixth reading of the Parsha. And here we're going to speak about the outer altar. The copper mizbeach, if you will, where the sacrifices were put on. Okay. Which, of course, is going to be different than when we're studying it in the Holy Temple, because of the way it is. Actually, I shouldn't say that. This is actually a good depiction. Over here, this is with the ramp. So now we're going to learn it without the ramp. The altar. Here's a picture. Okay. See, it says a mizbeach, and you shall make the mizbeach, the altar, the outer altar, atze shitim, should be made from acacia wood, chamish, amos 5 cubits. This is an arm's length. Eirech is its length, v'chamish amos reichav is its width. By the way, how do you know the difference between the width and the length? They're both 5. Reichav Ravua, it's a square. To be made a square. Yeah, it should be Amizbeach. Shalish Amiz Kemotza, and its height is 3, so it's not a cube. Okay, Rashi. In verse number 1, we're in chapter 27. Verse number 1 in Rashi explanation. So Rashi, he says, so make the mizbeach, and it's 3 amos is its height. Dvarim kiksavim. The words are to be taken literally. Rabbi Yehuda, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, the height, when it says 3 amos, take it literally. Rabbi Yossi, I remember Rabbi Yossi. Wow. For those who are taking the Talmud course, we had the debate in the Brisa between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Right, on the eve of Pesach. Or actually, the Brisa was on the eve of Shabbos, speaking about, right, as opposed to the Mishnah, was only speaking about the eve of Shabbos. Wow, look at that. We had this debate in the last 4 classes, so some of you are familiar with this. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Take it literally what the verse says. In other words, the full height is only 3, not only, but is 3 amos, right? The Tana Rabbi Yossi, though, says Nemakan Ravua. He says, there's a problem over here because it says Ravua, which means squared. So, therefore, if the Mizbeach in the courtyard of the Mishkan was squared, V'nema v'nimi Ravua, and states regarded the interior altar also. Remember, there's a gold plated altar in the inside in the holies, right? Which we spoke about yesterday. So just as the interior altar that will be discussed later, its height is twice its length. Here too, its height is twice its length. Right. In other words, it's got to be 10 amos high, according to Rabbi Yossi, right? 5, double the width of 5. The verse says 3. So mani makayim says what? How do I justify the verse? It says shalosh amskim also that its height is only 3. Misfasa so 3 means from the edge of the band and upwards. Here, 3 from here upwards, 7 down here, 3 up here. Rabbi Yehuda says this is the entire height. Rabbi Yossi says only from the band upwards it's 3, right? Why does Rashi bring both opinions? Good question. Like, it would seem to me Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, I think we go according to Rabbi Yossi in Halacha maybe, just like in the Gemara that we learned, we went according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huna according to Rabbi Yossi. Wow. Very exciting. So, but why, according to simple meaning, 3 means 3. Why would Rashi not just bring Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? Okay. Base, second verse. Vasisa karnoisav, and you should make its corners al arba pinoisav on its 4 corners. Well, karnois doesn't mean corners. I'm sorry. Karnos means a karen is a horn. Here it means protrusions. A horn is a protrusion from the animal, right? On the sheep. So make it for arba pinaisav on the 4 corners. Mimenu from it, tiena karnaisav should be its protrusions. To pisoisa necheshes and overlay it with copper. Here are the 4 corners. Right, you see over here. Right, the 4 corners. Right, they're sticking up. Rashi, mimenu tiena karnaisav, from it should be the protrusion. Shaloi yasim levadam is chabrim. Don't make them separately, the corners, and then attach them. Make them, right? Mimenu, that's what it means. From it should be, right? The Rashi's being exacting on the words. And you should overlay it with copper. Why copper? Right? Till now we haven't used copper, if you've noticed. So Rashi is picking up on that. And what does he say? The copper allows his metzach to atone for insolence. For insolence, brazenness, stubbornness. Your forehead is copper. It's a metaphor for insolence. We use copper for what? We use copper for plumbing, right? Why? I mean, maybe it's cheap, but there's other things. Because it is inflexible. It is strong. So it's a metaphor for those who are inflexible, right? And others brazen, stubborn, when they shouldn't be. Sometimes you need to be stubborn. Sometimes it's not good to be stubborn, right? So that's what Rashi says. Okay. Verse number 3, Vasisa siraisav, and you should make its pots. Seer is a pot. Its pots. Ladashnai, to remove the ashes for the ashes. Yav, and that's a scoop of Mizrakov, and its basins, Mizlagaisav, and its hooks, a machtaisav, and its fire pans, the whole kela for all of its vessels, implements, tas, and achoshes, make them copper. 3. Sirois of its pots, kamin yoiris, they are like kettles. Ladashne, to remove ashes. Lahasir dishna b'seichei, to remove on the ashes on the altar. V'hotirgim onkelos, and this is the way onkelos translates. Lemispe kitme, leis by sadesh l'seichem. So there's these pots that you're sweeping the ashes into them. Ki yesh mila is beloshen ivris, because there are words in Hebrew. Mila achas mischalefes bepisren l'shamish binyan v'stira. That the same word can be alternate in meaning and can be used to express both a building and tearing down. So deshen means ashes, and here it means to remove the ashes in the context over here, to collect them, right, and remove them. So he's giving an example now. V'tashresh sherasheha, that you've implanted its roots. Avil mashrish, a full taking root. So you see tashresh, so it's the word shorish, which means it means to roots, but it also means to like uproot the roots, right? So it's like, in other words, it's, as it says over here, constructive and destructive. That Hebrew language can be the same word in two different manners of meaning. Is that clear?
Or depends on the context.
Exactly. Interesting. So the opposite ends of the word, uproot among all of the produce, kamayu, likewise, you can find the root implying the opposite meaning, b'sifaheha, piria, growing branches, flourishing in her branches, chilufai, and you can find the opposite, right, misayiv, pura, cutting off the branches. So here it's saying, right, one means to growing branches, one means to cut off branches, and it's the same word. So just giving different chilufai, saklu ke'evin, hizra beneha, so Afghan, so here also the dashna, the word dashna means over here lohosir, to remove its ashes. Old French, descendre. Right. So, in other words, the question over here, it means ashes, the word deshin. The context, though, does it mean the ashes in its place or the removal of its ashes? Right. So here it's unusual way to say it, the removal of the ashes. Because usually it would mean, right, the place of the ashes. Right.
Physical location.
when you use the term normally, it just means the ash is in its place. But here it doesn't mean the ash is in its place. It means ladashna, it means to remove those ashes. So the opposite of being there, right? That's what he's saying. It's one and the opposite that we find. Okay. Yo'ov, and it's shovel, as Onkelos translates it. Magrefa is a shenait lim right? It's with the shovel that's how you take away the ashes. Vehin can mean kisu kadesh mateches. It's the shape of a lid of a metal pot, dark thin, v'loy beis yad, with a handle. So it's got a handle to it. What is that like? Like a ladle, right? So it's like a shovel. A ladle is like a shovel in a sense, right? Huh? So, but not more. A ladle is more like scooped, right? So this one's not scooped. So it's more like an opening shovel. Okay, in Old French, deal, the deal. Mazre koisav. So the basin l'kabel behem damas v'achim. This is a basin to receive the blood, right, from the offerings. Mazre koisav. Next Rashi. These are prongs. It says here hooks, prongs. Kamin unkliyais kefufim. They're shaped like bent hooks, like prongs. Or make bayhem bebaser be'shenis chavim boy. So you strike the meat of the sacrifice with them that they would spirit. Then return over the meat with them on the coals of the altar. So, like, prongs, you would turn over the meat, right? That they would speedily burn if it was a burnt offering, so it had to burn. Balaz krutzish. The sages, they called them tzinoriyos. That was the term that was used in the language of the sages. The fire pans, base kibul yesh behem. They were a base kibul, means they were a vessel, meaning they had a cavity to receive something in it. Lito behem is min amizbeach. So what was the cavity for? In other words, the holding of it, right? It was in order that the coals in them from the outer altar, that they would carry from there the coals and bring it into the interior altar for burning the incense. And because of the raking, right, they're called machtes, because that machtes is like a rake, even though it's not a rake, because it's like a fire pan, meaning that it's like that you can put in the coals into it and then bring it into. Think of it as a
So to take
no, a frying pan. Think of it like a frying pan, right? That you would put coals into it and then bring it into the inner altar. It's an expression of drawing fire from one place to another. Right. It's like a rake. A rake is to bring from. Why is it called? It's a fire pan, like a frying pan, right? That you fry on coals, right? But here, that's not what it is. It's got the cavity in there, so you could put into it the coals and bring it into the inner altar. Why is it called like a rake? Because what does a rake do? Move something from one place to another. So the purpose of this fire pan was to move the coals from here to the inner altar to bring fire there for the incense. Psh, wow. Okay. Okay, we gotta get moving over here. And you should make a copper grate. Here's the grate, right? Remember? And that's where it was, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's 3 amas over here. High started. That's the grate that you need to make. Meiser reshes nechoshes. It's a work. A network work. Asisas reshes arba tabois. And you should make this reshes, this grate, right? 4 rings, the chayshis that are copper, al arba kitsoisav on the 4 corners. You see it here, right? 1, 2, and the other side 1, 2. The rings over here. There's going to go the bars through them, right? The badim, the staves. Okay, Rashi in 4, michbar. All right, this is a new word. So a gate. Here, I have another translation, lattice. Yeah, because it looks like a lattice, right? Lashon kvora. It's a term of a sieve, like a lattice is a sieve, right? Shekairim kribla blaz. It's called kribble in Old French. Kemin lavush also was something like a garment made for the altar. Also, chayrin kamay reshes that had perforated holes, like a metal net. Mikras Mesiris, this verse is inverted. So you should understand it as follows. To make the lattice of copper, a netting work. A netting work. Now look at the verse over here. It says, Asisa Michbar, Maisareshes, that it's a netting work. No, it should be first make the michbar, the lattice or the grate or whatever you want to call it. Nechoshes, make it copper. It's inverted. Rashi is saying. Okay, got that? Verse number 5. And you should place it. This grate, this lattice. Tachas karko v'mizbeach, below the border of the mizbeach, of the altar, milamata from the below, v'hoisa reshazad chetzi mizbeach, and extending downward until the middle of the altar. Okay, let's see Rashi on this. Lengthy one. Okay, karka v'mizbeach, the band of the mizbeach, Soviv goes around, called Abramakim, something to be eagle, karkoi. Anything that encompasses all the way around, right, in a circle is called a karkoi. As we learn in the Talmud, the following are unfinished wood vessels. He's just giving an example. Like the round grooves that are made in the planks on the sides of a chest and wooden benches. So the altar also had these grooves around it. Its width was an amma along its wall for decoration. And this was at the end of the 3 ammas of the height of the altar. It's according to Rabbi Yossi's opinion, right? According to the opinion of the one who says that the altar was twice its length, right? It was 10 high because it was 5 long. Ha'amani mikayim. Then why do I refer to the verse Shalosh Amas Kaimase? The height is 3 amas. Mitzvahs Saviv V'Lamayla. It means refers to the height of the altar from the upper edge of the surrounding band and above. However, the copper mizbeach of the Mishkan did not have around it a surrounding ledge for the Kohanim to walk on, as did the stone mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash. See over here, there's nothing. They just had a ramp to walk straight up to it. In the Beis Hamikdash, they had one that went around the side. The ramp also went around the whole altar in the holy temple, not here, not in the Mishkan. It's different. It's different. Um, Hello, Rachel. The V'nimei Karnoisa. But the Kohanim would walk up to the top within the horns, the corners, right? So we learn in the Talmud, Eza Karkov, then Karen LeKaren. So what it means from horn to horn on the altar, Hayarechav Ama was an Ama, right? A hand's breadth. The Lifni Mehem, and further inward within those corners, Ama Shel Hiluch Ragle Kohanim. There was an Ama width for the Kohanim to be able to walk. Ushtei Amas Halalu, and these 2 Amas running from horn to horn, an Ama inward, Kohen Karkev, is called Karkev. Digdano Sham. So from this we understand that the lattice work, the grate, is not at the top of the altar. There were 2 bands, chad lenoi, one for decoration, chad lekahanim shelo yishtargu, one for the kohanim that they would not slip. The one that was on the side of the altar for decoration, and beneath it, they dressed the altar with a lattice. And the bottom of the width extended to the midpoint of the altar. So the lattice was 1 amma wide, and it was a sign for half of the height of the altar. To make a distinction between the upper blood and the lower blood on the altar. Not clear on all the details here. Chuta sikra be'emtza. So it says that this is an earthen altar, even though we said it's covered with copper, but the earth was inside because it was hollow inside. So ramp was to the south of the altar, and separated by a hairbreadth from the ramp to the altar. Okay, we're going to continue because I have to go back on that. I don't have complete clarity. Uy, and we're over time. Okay, so you make the poles for the altar of the acacia wood, and they're overlaid with copper. The huba is and the poles were inserted into the rings on the side of the mizbeach, the altar, when it would be carried. But habayis arabat habayis nasa lemichbar nuva v'nei luches tasa oisay kasher hera ischa bahar king tasa. Should make a hollow structure of panels, as I showed you in the mountain. So it must be made navuv luches. Uncle is translated cholil luchin, that it is. The panels of the acacia wood on the sides were in the middle were hollow. Clay 8 So there was made out of one piece of wood and the 5 cubits. By 5 cubits, there's a block, and they hollowed the middle of it. Okay, with that, we are going to go to Tanya now. Okay. Sorry for that last part there. Need a little more understanding.